I flew from Toronto all the way to Orlando, Florida to play 2K25. It's quite the trip. I got some other stories I can tell you about that. That was nonsense. But I want to share with you just some highlights of the game itself. First up, Universe Mode. Was Universe Mode groundbreaking and changed everything? No, but it does have some substantial improvements that I was really excited to see. The calendar changes that I'm showing you right now were some of the biggest ones. Being able to put multiple shows on any given day, being able to add PLEs any given day of the week, having 2-night PLEs, changes to the roster pages, King of the Ring tournaments being added in were just some of the things that I thought that Universe Mode really did well. I think that promos being added is a really big positive. I do wish that they had a little bit more depth though, but I did overall find that I would be playing Universe Mode a lot more this year to really just kind of get it the way I want to. And I think that the changes they made give us a little bit more freedom. I wish that promos had like backstage elements. I wish that the title holder like Cody would come out with the belt and not just in his gear, but a lot of really great improvements that were shown off. Now, another big mode that I play a ton is GM mode. And I thought that GM mode got really deep. I have a full video covering my GM on the channel, but I can tell you that on the surface it would look like the same thing. However, under the hood, the developers have done a lot to make this the giant general manager mode, you managing every nitty-gritty little detail, and they have not skipped a thing. There's now larger draft pools, so we can actually have larger shows now instead of just having a little bit of a smaller 10-12 pool of superstars. They've expanded it. They've increased the salaries that you have available for your budget. There's cross-brand PLEs now where you're going to go head to head. So if you get to Hell in a Cell PLE, you're going to go head to head with the other brand. They added the online features, so being able to play with your friends online is now possible. However, one of the downsides to this is that you are simulating only. You can't spectate or play the matches. You have to simulate it with your friends, which to me kind of defeats the purpose of having the online head-to-head in my GM. You want to feel like it's couch co-op. You want to be able to watch the matches, play the matches against each other. I think that's kind of the big point there, and that's probably something they would look at adding next year. This year it is head-to-head so that you can go and just simulate with somebody else online, but I think it was kind of one of the negatives here, especially for being one of the big things that they're adding. You got new GMs with all new unique abilities. More match types are added in from Gauntlet, Gauntlet Eliminator, Underground. All the visuals have received an update. The AI has been tuned a lot as well. And a cool thing is your go home shows to a PLE can resolve the rivalries, so they don't have to just end at the PLE. You can finish them up the day before, the show before the PLE itself, which was a nice touch. There's a lot more with GM mode though. Another big thing I noticed in terms of gameplay and the aesthetics was going to be the blood and the bruising of superstars. I did a Hell in a Cell match, Drew McIntyre and John Cena, and I was really interested in one. I wanted to play with the camera a lot because now we have that freedom with that camera, and I really did love it during the matches. Totally changed it. We'll talk a little bit more about the cameras in a minute. But when it comes to the damage done to the superstars, 2K has done a better job with this. Blood is noticeably, there's more of it, and they drip a lot more. There's more staining on the mat. There's more of the blood mixing in with the sweat, and it's all over their body, and they get beaten up in different ways, and there's bruising that is very noticeable. Other things too, like I would slam Drew McIntyre on top of Hell in a Cell, and after I did it like twice, Drew would get up and I could see all of the lashes, the marks from the cage over across his back, taking way more damage. It was bruised and it was red. You could really see it. So by the time you finished a Hell in a Cell, you felt like you went through a grueling match like you're supposed to. It was one of the details because of all the extra lighting that they have added to it. It shined. It really popped a lot more. I love having kind of more of that realism to the game, and that was one of those things where I felt like, okay, if I'm going to play this Hell in a Cell match, I want it to feel like Hell in a Cell, where I'm really working hard, and by the end of it, John Cena looks absolutely destroyed, bruised, sweaty, tired. It had all of it. I think it will really make players feel like the game, I don't know, has a little bit more depth, and you got that sense of realism to it. Okay, so for aesthetics, I'm a sucker for just like the layouts, how the game just looks overall. I loved all the menus. It's a nerdy little thing, but I love for when you're picking your match type that they've added all the accurate photos, pictures of what that match type is, from Underground to Hell in a Cell. They're not just generic one from tables matches. They look proper. Aesthetically, the game has better menus and better ways of navigating through it. I think players will be happy with it. It's not clunky, but I just liked how it looked. Another big win for me was going to be the new updated ladder match mini game they have done. This worked, and this worked really well. I saw other creators playing it too. I got their feedback. They said it was also a big win. Being able to have that mini game where it's going into stages or levels as you were trying to pull down the briefcase or pull down the title. If you have finishers stored, you're actually able to trigger it and skip a level. So you would sacrifice one of your finishers and then you'd be able to move up to the next level of trying to attempt to pull off the briefcase, for example. This was really good because it can make it so that it's faster to pull money in the bank. Think about like having a multi-man ladder match and you're trying to pull a briefcase or a title. Sometimes it goes on way too long. If you have stored finishers, there's a little bit more strategy in there and you can make it go a little bit faster. But doing like a standard one-on-one ladder match, it made it a lot of fun because if you don't have stored finishers, you and your opponent are both trying to make big attempts to pull that off. The button mashing or trying to get the buttons correctly hit in the right sequence, right order, I thought was a great way of doing it. Instead of having the wheel and we're putting the dot inside the center, I got tired of that. It's old, it is clunky, it doesn't work well, the timing and hitting the triggers, never liked it. This felt way better. This was easier for a lot of players, I think, if they're putting on easy or even up to legendary mode. You're going to have an easier time just trying to get up to the next stage with the ladder match and pulling the belt or the money in the bank down. It's going to make me want to play ladder matches a lot more and TLC matches. It'll have more fun. Now, I mentioned the new cameras, and we have seen this in a lot of the preview footage, and this was one of the first things that I tried to do, obviously with entrances and even in the matches. The entrances, yes, we have seen this. I really love that you have the ability to just hit the triggers and switch camera angles within the arena, or you can go for the third person perspective, which just allows you to swing the camera around the superstar and zoom in and out. The only thing I wish they had for this, for the entrances, is going to be a complete free camera where I can move anywhere in the arena during the entrances. They don't have that. It's the only kind of quibble I have with it. It's a very small thing. Doesn't really matter. I love all of the camera options they have. It's given entrances a breath of fresh air and new life where you're into watching the entrances for the superstars. A lot of us skip. We're not into it. You see it once, you move on. Love it for content creation personally, but I love just being able to capture different angles. It creates a new unique vibe to the entrance overall. Getting Cody or The Rock and their entrance and switching it up from the standard stuff keeps you more invested into it. Now, in the matches, the free roam camera was one of my favorite things, and I got used to it very quickly. Being able to switch it in the menus, where you can do the ramp camera if you want to, like we've had last year, which was introduced, but now you do have that other camera option where you can just go in free mode, but they have it where the camera itself can be set in the options menu to wide or like extra wide. So meaning that they will pull the camera back far and then even further, so you have more of the canvas, more of the arena showing off. Was excellent for Hell in a Cell, zooming in and out. You have to hold down like the right trigger if you want to be able to grapple somebody and like lift them up. One of the things I was asking people was like, wait a minute, I'm swinging this camera around, but how do I pick up my opponent off the canvas? So you just hold the right trigger and you can still do it. So they use that to help you as you swing the camera, you're doing everything else. It totally changes up the matches. Match flow, regular matches, stuff that might be perceived as boring or dull that you've done endlessly before, now has a breath of fresh air. It is really one of those things where you're like, you gotta try it and you'll know what I'm talking about. You'll be like, wow, I'm actually enjoying playing this match now because I have the freedom to swing cameras any which way and I'm playing it. So not only spectating it, but playing it. It's a lot of fun with the camera. I've mentioned this in the previews of like what we have seen and everything, but since I got hands-on with it, you know that we have the Prime bottle station ringside. I did say to the developers, one of the critiques I have is, and I was kind of bummed out, is we can't access the ring bell. We can't access a title belt just sitting on a podium ringside, but we can go to a Prime bottle station and grab that off of a table. Like, why can't just switch out the Prime bottle for a title? That's all I want. I think it's something that's been missing for years. WWE puts the championships ringside, like, let's go, let's put that there, let's make it up to date. The arenas are up to date. The commentary table is up to date with like the new Raw SmackDown table with like the LEDs going around. That all looks great and the arenas look fantastic. But I'm like, why would we not just get the title belts there for title matches? it was a kind of a big miss because it's one of those details. I'm like, that's on the show every week. Now, we have seen in the previews, aside from Matt here, where like obviously we've seen the underground matches, the intergender matches, and I tried those out. And underground specifically was a little bit more fun than I expected. But there's one weird thing, and I hope the devs fix this, just patch it. The underground matches are won by just like knockout, right? And they're a lot of fun. No ring ropes, the guy kind of teeters off the edge and all that, you can throw him outside. But if you get a weapon and you hit him with a weapon, it's a disqualification. I think that they should just change this to default as no DQ match, because you should be able to just bloody them up and use a chair or a table and get wild with it, but you can't. But the one match type that I wish they previewed it, and we have it now here, ladies and gentlemen, it is my new favorite thing for just pure fun, chaos, just having a good time. The Bloodline rules match. Standard no DQ match. You go one-on-one against somebody. Each of the opponents can have up to 3 people coming down to help them during the Bloodline rules match. This is triggered by a payback. You build up your payback in the meter as you go through the match, and then once you get one, you can trigger it, you can save it, and you just have people coming down with their entrance themes hitting and they run to the ring. It makes it so fun. It's one of those things where I would ask the devs, and I would hope they would listen, that please just take this payback option and use it as a standard run-in option for regular matches. It's tied to the Bloodline rules match, so you can just hit it and hit it and hit it, and it's wonderful. It's chaos. You want those run-ins. Please just take that payback and apply that payback to every mode to allow you to do it like one time in a match. Not so that it's just pure chaos and every single match you do, you got run-ins happening, but I want that run-in payback in there as standard, and it works like the Bloodline rules. Because once I had all 3 people coming in to help me out in a match, it's just nuts. And the other thing too that's really good, the AI is smarter here. They don't just run into the ring, attack you, and then they just neander and stand in the ring. They will come in and do an attack, and then they will roll out of the ring, and the AI will go and fight the other AI opponents outside to even the odds. So you don't have this thing turning into a cluster of 6 people just in the ring, and you can never get a pinfall. I looked at other creators, I saw them doing Bloodline rules matches, and they said the same thing as me. They were like, oh yeah, the AI is leaving and you're allowed to continue the match one-on-one, but they will try to break up the pins. So they are smart enough to come back into the ring and try to break the thing up. So you got to throw them out of the ring, hit them with the stunner, do whatever. But guys, it was so much fun. Bloodline rules match is something you definitely want to play. Oh, and I looked under like entrances. D-Generation X theme song is in the game. And Evolution's theme song is also in the game. I got very happy by this. Finally added it back in. Matt here has been asking for years. It's a small little thing, but guess what? It's part of WWE. Just put in all those retro theme songs. I don't know why it's been such an issue for so many years. You got the licenses, you own all that stuff. You want to recreate Evolution. The theme songs are now back in the game. It was one little thing I had to check for everybody, at least for me. Another thing I tried, and I had one of the developers work with me or just try to show me this, was fighting against a giant or fighting with a giant. You pick somebody like Undertaker, who is going to be a giant in the game, and they have essentially a shield around them that you have to break them down. Basically chop down the giant tree. So I had Chad Gable going up against Undertaker, and what's really good with using a giant is that it will slow the match down in terms of, well, you got to do a lot more damage to them. Once you kind of break their shield down, then you are able to do kind of normal damage. But I was hitting Undertaker with a lot of stuff, and it's not that they're overpowered by any means, it just takes longer. Like where I was almost in red and Undertaker was still in kind of a light yellow for damage, it was taking noticeably more time, but not in a bad way, not in a like just a dumb grindy way. It made it more fun and the match is going to last longer. The way they have adapted this is more fun, and you're giving new life into things like giants so that, hey, they can like shove you away and push you down like they normally do, but you're going to have to do way more damage to them. So going from like a cruiserweight to go up against a giant takes longer, as it should, because it's that realism effect of it. Another cool thing they added in, so when you go to create a team, you have that, it looks all the same, whereas create the whole team, like you can create damage control, but they now have a subsection below that team and attached to that team. You can create a team affiliate or affiliation with them. So it allows you to create the faction, and then you can create the tag team within that faction. So you affiliate them when you are trying to set up the whole team together. This I thought was brilliant. It's one of those really small details that I don't know how many people picked up on unless they were like ripping through all the menus. But when I first looked at it, I didn't know what it was. I was like, why does it say I'm trying to create this team and it's set the team that they are affiliated with? Well, what it does is that it lets you pick from all of the existing teams that are in the tag team list on the roster, and you pick them and you are now affiliated with them. So you no longer have it where, hey, if you just set up a faction, too bad, you can't make them a tag team, or it's the weird combination of who you want as the tag team partners. They split it up, so if you want Bloodline and you got the Usos as a tag team, they are affiliated with the Bloodline. It makes a lot more sense, and it's just a small detail, like a quality of life thing I liked. Now, the time I'm recording this, I'm not talking about My Rise and The Island and Showcase, and those things I did get hands-on with. But those deep dives, they're probably available now or very soon. Not everything is perfect. Players might say, a lot of this feels like the same as last year. I spoke to multiple developers about the things I liked that I saw, and I also gave feedback, like a lot of other creators did, of, hey, this is glitched, didn't like this, or we have questions about certain things, why they were added or not put in. So I did my best to try and just ask some questions, get hands-on with the game, and provide feedback where I could. But if you want to talk about universe mode and like every nitty-gritty, I did you a favor. It's right here. I went through everything I possibly could with universe mode, so I hope it meets your standards. Have a great day. See ya.